Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor for those of you who have never been here before, and in today's video we are going to be talking about some tips that I have for building in The Sims 4. Building is one of those things that either you think you're great at it or you think you suck at it, and I feel like most of us think that we suck at it, but I have some good beginner's tips, things that I do to make my houses look a little bit more interesting, a little bit more lived in, and honestly the answer is usually just clutter, but it's fine. We're going to go over some exterior building as well as a little bit of decorating tips in this video, and if you enjoy it at any point throughout, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I make videos every single day about The Sims 4, so if that's something you're interested in, you should definitely join us. Okay, so here we are in one of the base game lots in Willow Creek. This is one of my favorite lots to build on as someone who isn't like an extravagant builder, because the bigger the lot, the more you have to do. So this is one of my favorite lots to build basic base game simple starter homes, and you'll see why. It's pretty small. It makes it so you don't have to have an extravagant backyard and all of that. So that's my first tip, is honestly, if you can't build something huge and you feel like you don't have the skills for that, start really small. Tiny homes are a great place to start for this. So when you're building the exterior of a home in The Sims 4, what you really want to do is start with like the main living area and don't even think about a floor plan yet. So you can have some kind of like rectangle or square shape to start with. And as you can see, that's pretty boring. If you were to just roof that now, you wouldn't have very much going on and it would look pretty boring, pretty lame, and it's not what you want. So what we could do is add a little section on top, and there would be a roof piece here, and that would always look really great. Another great tip is to add bump outs on the side. Any good builder knows that adding these kinds of things adds a little bit of dimension and just makes your home look more interesting for sure. We can also add some kind of bump out on this side as well, but a smaller one. So then you can see it makes it look more interesting, more visually appealing to the eye when you have more than one situation happening. So what you want to do then is go in and you can roof your home. Now the key to roofing is to use different roof pieces at different heights and different sizes, you'll see. So what we want to do here is anything that's kind of like this, a good tip is to use the half gabled roof, and then you can bring it down and it just looks good in the front. Now, one thing that a lot of players don't seem to like is this part here, and you can actually bring that in if you don't like it. And if you just want to bring in, say, the right side, if you hold down Shift and grab onto this arrow here, you can actually just bring in the one side and keep the other side fully extended. And if you don't like how it's going out here, you can actually bring it back a little bit and then even just do that so it only comes out just a little bit. So you want to use this arrow that's in the middle to make it either longer or shorter and just make it the size of the area you have. And then you can use this arrow to either do both, which looks just a little bit weird, or you can hold down Shift to bring it like that for a nice little overhang situation. It's quite cute. That's the way that I always do it. Then you want to roof the little pieces. I always find that these look the best on side sections, just the regular gabled roof, and then we'll bring one over here as well. Now it does look a little bit weird because these roofs are different heights, so you can bring it down to make it look a little bit better. Nothing super fancy, as we all know. I'm not the greatest builder, but I do have a few little things that I like to do. And then we can go ahead and just roof the top part. And then you've got like a decent looking home. Now, one thing that a lot of players don't actually know exists is the ability to actually place windows by room. So what you can do is you can take a window like this, and then the game will actually cover all of the space in that room with these windows. Now, sometimes the placement ends up being a little bit weird, but most of the time, like, you can get away with it. You know, you've got two on the back, two on the front, and it just looks kind of like they were meant to be there. Placing windows is one of those things that I find exceptionally stressful, just because I never know which kind of windows to use, where to use them, how to use them, and it ends up just being chaotic for me, and I don't like that. So using the auto windows by room tool is very useful. Now, a lot of things I see with beginner builders is they never actually change the roof pattern that they're using. So if you click on this little section here of the roof, there are all sorts of different colors and shades of like craziness that you can add to your homes to make them more interesting. Even glass roofs for some interesting lighting in your home, which is always kind of fun. But this is one of those things that you can do to completely change up how your home looks. And I end up downloading a lot of homes on the gallery that all have that default roof texture that honestly, I'm just kind of sick of seeing. Even just changing that to a darker one just makes it look a little bit, you know, more chic, more unique, and more beautiful. The next tip for decorating the exterior of a home is to use more than one texture. So I don't ever, when I'm building, just use something like this on the entire home and make the entire home I don't know why I'm going for pink, but it's fine. But I would never just use these. Also, we should bring this in because that looks quite odd. But what we're gonna do is we wanna add some kind of stone, or first of all, I'm gonna change it from pink because I find that very distracting. But we wanna add some kind of like stone or brick to some sections of the home. So the way that you do this is, since you do have those little bump out areas, you can just kind of take maybe just the front of the house and make like this part of the house have brick or stone on it, and the outsides have the shingles, which is always cute. Or you can do it the other way around. This one's honestly one of my favorites for doing this because it just makes the house just look like a little bit more fancy, and you just feel like, you know, your Sims deserve a better life when they live in a place like this. The next big tip I have is that you can definitely do your landscaping before adding a foundation if you want your plants to go really close. So what you don't want to do is try to add flowers here, because the flowers are going to jump up with the foundation, so you can't get them any closer than that. But if you actually just landscape a little bit before adding your foundation, you can get them in quite close as long as you have the Move Objects cheat turned on. You can go in and have them more like that, and then when you raise the foundation, the plants look like they're kind of just inside, and you won't actually see them in the home because the foundation is there. So that is something that I do a lot, and you can just have them really close. The next small thing that you can do that honestly makes a big difference is add terrain paint around the house. As you can see right now, it just looks like this house was kind of plopped there, and that it doesn't actually live there, like it doesn't belong there. Like there's terrain paint all around the world, and it just like makes everything look a little bit more lived in, a little bit more used. But if you add just like a little bit of terrain paint in some kind of dirt color around the house, it just looks like, you know, the grass maybe isn't growing there properly, or water is coming off the side of the house and just making a little bit of dirt. And it just kind of makes it look like your house belongs in this area a little bit more. And that just makes it feel more natural in the neighborhood instead of being a little bit like out of place and weird. And I don't know, it's just one of those small details that can make a big difference when you're building. The next thing you want to do is try your best to match any kind of plants and landscaping that you have on your lot to the things you're seeing around the world. So all of the things that are going on here, you can add. So we've got like these little plants here, some flowers. You kind of just want to make sure that it matches, because if you start using things from, let's say, The Sims 4 Island Living in Willow Creek, it's going to be like, oh, that doesn't belong there. That looks very weird. And like, why did you even do that? So it's one of those things where like you might go back here and see that they have those flowers. And those are just these assorted wildflowers here, and you can add those and it'll just blend right in. And it just honestly makes like a world of difference having things that just match and that feel like they belong, instead of having it just be kind of chaotic and crazy. Now this one is the plant that's over here, so that matches well. They just have like a bigger version of it. So that would definitely make you fit in, and just doing things like that will make it feel like your home belongs in the neighborhood, which is very important if you want to have a cohesive world. So now we're going to kind of move in to the inside of the home and do a little bit of decorating. Now my first tip is, if you don't have a budget, place these subtle saucer lights pretty much everywhere. Building in a place that's a lot brighter will honestly just make it feel happier and more fun to play in, because if you have a home, unless it's part of like your storyline, like if you're playing with, let's say, vampires or crazy spellcasters who live in the dark, you know, something like that, or a Black Widow challenge perhaps, those kind of homes can feel more interesting if they are dark. But most of the time when you're playing The Sims, it's going to be way too dark, and you're going to end up like being annoyed at how dark your gameplay is. And that's just one of those little things that I can't deal with most of the time when I'm playing The Sims. So I'm just going to quickly add a little kitchen, and then we'll go into some of the other tips about decorating. So my next tip when decorating kitchens is to use a varied type of cabinets. There are these ones that are the ones by default. They're going to take up the whole amount of space, but if you click and you go to this little section here, you have auto placement, which is just going to make it so that corners kind of attach, but it's not going to give you different types. But if you click on these little gears, you're going to end up with a lot more options, which can make your kitchens look so much better. So you've got things like this little cabinet here that if you have a tall wall height, you can place like that, or you can just delete one of these and put this in there. And then it kind of takes up a lot of space. These always look really good in corners. And it has a lot of like clutter objects, just making your home feel a little bit more lived in. Those are always a really great option. You also have things like this that vary just slightly from these ones. So this one has like a side opening instead of a top opening, which is really cute. And then there's also ones that go like this that look really great over windows so that your Sims can have a little bit more of a window view if that's something that you're into. This also applies to the regular counters as well. So there's like corner pieces and like little edge pieces if you're going to go around a corner, which are very, very cute. So you want to make sure you're not just using the boring regular counters. So one thing that you need to know if you are building is the move objects sheet, which we've already turned on, but we'll just go and do it. It's bb.moveobjects. To open up that little cheat box, you want to hit Control, Shift, and C on your keyboard, or if you're playing on console, you want to hold down all 4 triggers and that will open, and then type in bb.moveobjects. You'll press enter, the game will let you know that it's on, and what that does is it lets you move things so that you can kind of like put them anywhere. Like normally the game would snap it onto the grid, but you could like put 2 in one spot or have them connected. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but it's a thing that you can do. And this is going to make it a lot easier for you to decorate. So normally you'd be able to put something there and then you wouldn't be able to put anything else where it is, but you can kind of like, there's 2 plants there now for no reason, but they exist. This is really helpful when decorating in kitchens, especially if you use alt placing. So for this, what you want to do is we'll go into some kitchen clutter. We'll put this on this counter here. Now, there are only a certain number of slots on kitchen counters where your stuff can go, but a lot of the time you're like, oh, I wish I could go like farther in the corner. I wish I could have more things on that one counter spot. So if you go ahead and move this out of the way, hold on to it, click on the item, and then hold down Alt on your keyboard, you're actually able to free place where the counter was. Now, if you go towards where a counter is currently, it will snap onto slots. So you'd want to just go and free place something where the counter was, and you're able to put a lot of objects closer together to make the kitchen look more cluttered and more cute. This is like my biggest tip for decorating kitchens, is using this trick. You can have so many objects just like really close together on a counter and just make it look super cluttered. Obviously, this isn't the best design choice, but having cluttered objects definitely changes the game. The next thing you may want to do is size up and size down objects. So for example, something I use this a lot for is sizing down certain plants, because there are a couple plants in the game that are just too big for what I want them for. This is a perfect example. This plant takes up a lot of space, but it's just so much cuter when it's like this size. Or you can even go smaller, have it be super tiny. And if you wanted to, you can use the 9 key on your keyboard to raise up the plant and even just like put it on the counter as this tiny little baby instead of the giant plant that we started out with. If you want to lower something as well, you can hit the 0 key on your keyboard and you use those with move objects on, and it'll allow you to do that. But you can just like put a plant that's really, really small on your counter, and it's just like the cutest thing ever. You use the square brackets to be able to size up and size down objects. The right bracket is to size things up, and you can actually go quite large. Not sure why you'd want a giant plant, but that's fine. And then you can actually make stuff quite small. So that's that plant there, and this is what we started off with. So it's just like a little baby plant. Absolutely adorable. Now, one thing I get questions about a lot when I'm actually doing build videos is cycling swatches. So if you go and let's say we grab this little adorable mushroom stool from Cottage Living and you want to see the different colors that it comes in. A lot of players will place the object and go up to this design tool here and then cycle through this way. But there is actually another way to do this more quickly as long as you haven't placed the object yet. So if you go grab something from the build catalog and then you hit the plus sign on your number pad, this will actually cycle through all of the swatches, allowing you to see all of the beautiful different colors that you can get that object in, which allows for way quicker building. Honestly, it changes the game quite a bit for that. And my final tip is to use rugs a lot. I find that the best thing to do is to just find rugs that you love, that you know look good in certain places, and use them all the time. For example, I actually use this little rug, this little fuzzy thing, in like every bedroom ever. However, I don't use it at that size. So I'll use this rug here and put it under a bed and make it just look like the coziest little sleeping area. Obviously right now we're in the middle of this family's living room, but as you can see, like, wouldn't you love to just get off of your bed and have that adorable little situation happening and just like have fuzzy toes underneath your feet when you wake up in the morning? Let's go with like a dark navy wallpaper. Like, look at how cute that is. And some cute little wood floors. Like, look at that little fuzzy rug. But honestly, rugs change the game so much. If you just have plain floors, you end up just like I don't know, it's just wasted potential if you don't have enough rugs in your home. So rugs and clutter objects are the two things that are going to make your houses feel so much more lived in and so much more cozy in the game. But yeah, guys, those are some of my tips for building in The Sims 4 for beginners. These are obviously not advanced tips or even like novice tips. These are beginners tips for people who aren't really great at building or who are just trying to get into building for the first time. I just wanted to make this video because I would have loved to have something like this a few years ago to just tell me all of the little secrets and all the little tips that they had. If you have any bigger tips that you want to share, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. Other players, I'm sure, will love that and will love to get to know different things about the game that they may have not realized before. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, you should definitely give it a thumbs up because it really helps out the YouTube algorithm. As well as if you're not already subscribed to the channel, you should definitely hit that big red button down below and subscribe. I really hope you're having an amazing day and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.